All right, let's kick off another deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think we've all thought about, how to read effectively. And get this, our wisdom today comes from a YouTube video.
Oh, wow.
By Ali Muhammad Ali from the Air World.
It's amazing, isn't it, how this thirst for knowledge just crosses all those boundaries, you know?
Yeah.
Languages, cultures. His video, How to Read, Understand, and Critique Books, really hit home for me.
Yeah, me too. You know, he starts off talking about the reasons why we even bother with books.
Yeah.
And right away, I'm hooked. He lays out these 3 big reasons: pleasure, knowledge acquisition, and mental growth. But it's not just the what, it's the why that really gets me. Like, he argues that reading, especially novels, is even better than movies when it comes to exercising your brain and mastering language.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think he's got a point, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're reading, you're the one creating the pictures in your head.
You are. You're actively building that world.
Yeah. So maybe it's more of a workout.
Oh, yeah. He's spot on about that cognitive workout for sure.
Right.
But he goes even further, right?
Yeah.
He says that knowledge acquisition is the most valuable reason to pick up a book. And that really struck a chord with me. Like, it's about being intentional, reading with a clear goal.
Yeah.
You know, like you're on a mission.
Yeah, it's like you're searching for that missing piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
And each book is like a new clue.
Right.
But then there's this whole mental growth piece.
Right.
Ali says that reading is like a shield for your brain, you know, protecting it as you get older.
And the science backs that up, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
There's more and more research showing that keeping our minds active through things like reading actually helps, you know, ward off some of those cognitive issues as we age.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. There's this constant battle, right?
Yeah.
Between curling up with a good book, scrolling through social media.
It's a struggle.
So Ali talks about this comparison. What do you think? Does he think it's all or nothing? Or is there room for both in our lives?
He really emphasizes the depth you get from a book, like how it forces you to focus and wrestle with those more complex ideas.
Yeah.
He says it's a completely different experience, you know, compared to those quick hits and distractions of social media.
But don't you think there's a place for both? Like, yeah, okay, endlessly scrolling might not be the best thing for your brain.
Probably not.
But there's also some really great content online, too.
Oh, absolutely.
That makes you think.
It's about being discerning, right? Whatever we're consuming, just because it's in a book doesn't make it brilliant. And there are hidden gems online. Yeah. It comes down to choosing wisely.
Choosing wisely. I like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of choosing wisely, Ali takes us through what he calls the 4 levels of reading. It's like a roadmap for really squeezing every drop of knowledge out of a book, like getting the most out of it.
He starts with the basics, what he calls elementary reading.
Okay.
Just understanding the words on the page, the building blocks.
Yeah.
You know, it's the foundation. We all start there.
Right. But then he kicks it up a notch.
Right.
The next level he calls inspectional reading.
Yes.
Which I think of as like the recon phase, you know, casing the joint. Like, is this book even worth my time? Is it worth a deep dive?
And he has this really systematic approach.
Does he?
Yeah, you check the title, the subtitle, the back cover, get a feel for what it's promising.
Okay.
Then you hit the table of contents, like a blueprint of the whole argument.
Yeah.
And then finally, targeted strikes. Read the intro and conclusion of some key chapters.
Ooh, I like
to get a sense of those core ideas.
It's like you're a detective looking for clues.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say you decide, yep, this book is a keeper. That's when things get really interesting, right?
That's where analytical reading comes in.
Okay.
This is where we really, you know, roll up our sleeves and wrestle with the text.
Yeah.
It's about slowing down, savoring each sentence, engaging actively.
Right.
You know, Ollie's big on highlighting, taking notes, summarizing anything to get you really interacting with the material.
Like you're in a conversation with the author, going back and forth.
Exactly, pushing and pulling on those ideas.
Right. But he didn't stop there. He throws in a 4th level, this syntopical reading.
Right.
What's that all about?
So imagine you're fascinated by a certain topic, let's say ancient philosophy.
Right.
Or the future of AI. Syntopical reading means you pull in all these different sources, all these perspectives, and you kind of weave them together.
Like you're building this tapestry.
You are. You're going from being a student to being the professor.
Yeah.
You know, you're not just absorbing knowledge, you're synthesizing it.
Yeah.
Comparing viewpoints, building your own take.
I love that.
And what's mind-blowing is how AI is changing all of this.
Oh, really?
With tools that can analyze tons of text in a flash. We're on the verge of a syntopical reading revolution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so future of knowledge right there.
Yeah.
But let's go back to that analytical reading. I hear Ollie has these really unique note-taking tactics.
Oh, yeah, he does.
I'm always looking for ways to make information stick.
Right.
So tell me, what's the secret sauce?
He keeps it simple, but effective.
Go.
Forget fancy notebooks. Just grab whatever's handy. He marks important pages with a little line in the margin so he can find them easily later. Then he highlights key phrases and just jots down notes right there in the margin.
Okay.
His thoughts, questions, connections he's making.
So he's like having a conversation with the book right there on the page.
He is.
That's pretty cool.
And get this, he uses little symbols. Oh, like stars to flag those really brilliant points.
So it's like a treasure map.
It is a treasure map through the book.
I love it. Like X marks the aha moment.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder that we can tailor our note-taking, to our own learning style. He even gives a shout out to Cal Newport's system of distilling ideas into those concise summaries.
So find what works for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've read the book, we've taken all these notes. But how do we know if we've actually absorbed anything?
That's a good question.
It's test time.
Ollie's got us covered.
Okay.
He has these 4 questions that every reader should ask themselves after finishing a book.
Okay, hit me.
First, what's the central message? The big takeaway.
Okay, get to the heart of it.
Right.
Russ.
Next, how did the author build their case? What kind of structure, arguments, examples did they use?
So going beyond just the content, but how they actually delivered it?
You got it. Then it gets personal. Do you agree or disagree with the message? And why?
This is where we have to be honest with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just get swept up in a good argument, but we have to think critically too.
Absolutely.
What's the last question?
This is the big one. How will this book change you? How will its message impact your life or actions?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a big one. It's taking those ideas off the page and putting them into action.
Exactly.
Making that knowledge actually do something.
That's Ollie's whole approach, isn't it? Active engagement.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just passively absorb words.
Yeah.
We have to wrestle with them, question them, figure out how they shape our thinking and our lives.
Man, this is making me rethink my entire reading process. It's like Ollie's given us this...
A toolkit.
Yeah, a toolkit for becoming master readers.
And the best part is, this is just the beginning.
Really?
He goes even deeper, sharing specific strategies for tackling different types of books. It's going to level up your reading game.
Okay, you've got to tell me more. Let's dive into those strategies.
Let's do it. So Ollie, he really shines when he gets into the specifics of reading different genres. He's got some great strategies for tackling everything from like dense scientific texts to captivating history books.
Okay, let's start with the science stuff.
Okay.
I'll admit, those can be intimidating sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like you need a PhD to even get through the introduction.
I hear you. Ollie's first tip is play detective.
Okay.
Before you even open the book, do some digging on the author.
Okay.
What's their background? What are their credentials? Knowing where they're coming from can really help you assess their claims, maybe spot any biases.
It's like a pre-reading fact check.
Exactly. I love it. What else?
He's a big fan of defining those key terms. Scientific language can be so precise.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure you're crystal clear on the terminology.
Right.
Like build your own little mini dictionary as you go.
Like a decoder ring. Exactly.
All those complex concepts.
And don't be afraid to get hands-on.
Okay.
Ollie recommends keeping a separate notebook specifically for jotting down those definitions or explanations.
Yeah.
Anything that trips you up.
Okay.
It'll be the super valuable tool as you move through the book.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, so now let's talk about history books.
Okay.
They can be this whirlwind of names, dates, battles, political movements.
Right.
How do you even keep it all straight?
Ollie says, zoom out. Pay attention to the historical context.
Okay.
The bigger picture. What were the social, political, economic forces at play? Understanding those things can really shed light
Right.
on the events and decisions that are being described.
It's like you're creating a mental map, right?
You are.
Placing all those historical moments within the larger story. So you can see how everything's connected.
And if you're a visual learner,
Yeah.
he says, go old school. Break out those maps and timelines.
Yeah.
They can be so helpful for visualizing the information
Right.
and making those connections.
I love that. Sometimes you just got to go analog
Right.
to really make it stick.
Sometimes the old ways are the best.
Okay, now for the fun stuff. Literature. What about novels and short stories?
This is where he really gets into appreciating the art of storytelling. Pay attention to the author's style.
Okay.
How they're using language to create the mood,
Yeah.
the emotion,
Yeah.
their word choices, the sentence structure, the tone, the rhythm.
Right. It all adds up.
It does. It all contributes to that deeper meaning.
It's like you're not just reading the words, you're experiencing them, savoring them,
Yes.
feeling them.
It's about experiencing the story on multiple levels.
Right. And don't forget about those literary techniques.
Yes. Yes.
Symbolism, metaphors,
You're right.
character
But
development.
he really wants us to dig beneath the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Look for those hidden meanings and connections.
It's like we're literary detectives now.
We are uncovering the author's clues.
I want to go back and reread all my favorite books with this new perspective.
I know, right? It's like you get to experience them in a whole new light.
Okay, so this is all fantastic advice. But I have to ask.
Yeah.
Ollie seems to really focus on nonfiction in this video.
He does.
Do you think these techniques can be applied to fiction too?
That's a great question. I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
While some techniques might be more tailored to nonfiction, many of these principles absolutely enhance our reading of fiction too. For example, understanding historical context or the author's cultural background can give us a deeper understanding of characters, their motivations, even in a fictional world.
And actively engaging with the text.
Yes.
Taking notes, highlighting.
Reflecting on the story's message can deepen our appreciation for a novel or a short story.
It's about being an active participant.
Right.
Not just a passive observer.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, no matter what we're reading, the goal is to read with intention.
Yeah.
Engage with the material. Think critically about what we're consuming. It's about taking ownership of our reading experience.
Absolutely. And remember, reading isn't just about absorbing information. It's about expanding our minds, enriching our understanding, sparking our imaginations.
Okay, I'm curious, because in the video, Ali talks about discussing what we read with others.
Right.
Well, why do you think that's so important?
It's like taking those ideas out for a test drive.
Okay.
Sharing our thoughts, our interpretations can lead to deeper understanding, new insights. Even those debates that make you rethink your whole perspective.
It's like a book club, but for life.
Exactly.
Bouncing ideas off each other, challenging assumptions.
Deepening our understanding through conversation.
Right.
It's about creating that community of learners.
Yeah.
Where we can explore these ideas together and enrich each other's journeys.
This video has really challenged me to think differently about how I approach reading. It's not just about passively consuming words.
Right.
It's about actively engaging.
Wrestling with them.
Right, and figuring out how they shape our thinking and our lives.
And the beauty of it is it never ends.
It doesn't.
There's always something new to discover.
Right.
A new perspective to consider. A new layer of meaning to uncover.
I'm ready to dive back into my reading list.
Yeah.
With this, newfound awareness.
I love it.
What are some of the things that you've learned that have been the most impactful for you from Ali's approach?
For me, it's the emphasis on purpose.
Oh, okay.
It's so easy to just get caught up in finishing books.
Right, checking them off the list.
Yeah, but Ali reminds us that reading should be this active pursuit of knowledge, a deliberate attempt to learn and grow.
Right, it's about quality, not quantity.
Exactly. And for me, it's the reminder that reading is a skill that we can improve, It's not something you're just good at or bad at.
Right.
With practice and the right techniques, we can all become more effective readers.
Okay.
Regardless of where we're starting from.
I love that.
Yeah.
It makes it feel less intimidating, more like an adventure.
It is an adventure.
I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways is the importance of asking those critical questions.
Oh, yeah.
after finishing a book.
It's so easy to just close the book and move on.
Yeah.
But taking that time
Yeah.
to really reflect on the takeaways, the argument,
Mm-hmm.
how it might impact our own lives, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Making those connections between the ideas
Mm-hmm.
and our own experiences,
Right.
turning knowledge into wisdom.
Beautiful said. And speaking of wisdom,
Yep.
Ali drops this gem
Yeah.
towards the end of the video.
And it really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about recognizing that there are different levels of reading,
Okay.
and we need to be mindful of which level
Yeah.
is appropriate for the material at hand.
Okay, unpack that for me. What does he mean by different levels of reading?
So he starts with what he calls elementary reading,
Okay.
which is like the most basic level,
Mm-hmm.
grasping the literal meaning of the words,
Right.
the sentences,
Okay.
just decoding the text, understanding what the author is saying.
Right, like building a house.
Yeah,
Have a good foundation before you can do anything else.
exactly. And once you've got that foundation,
Yeah.
you can move on to what he calls inspectional reading.
Inspectional reading. Okay.
This is where you become a bit of a detective,
Okay.
skimming the book
Mm-hmm.
to get a sense of its structure, its main arguments,
Right.
see if it's even worth a deeper dive.
Okay, so at this point, you're not reading every word, are you?
Not necessarily, but you're strategically looking for information.
Right, gathering intel.
So what kind of detective work are we talking about here?
Ali suggests paying close attention to the title, subtitle, even the back cover.
Mm-hmm.
They can give you a lot of clues
Okay.
about the book's core message.
Right.
Then dive into the table of contents.
Oh.
It's like a roadmap.
I like that. A roadmap for the book.
Exactly. You get a preview of the journey ahead.
Yeah.
And finally, Ali recommends selective reading.
Oh, okay.
Skim the introduction and conclusion of some key chapters
Right.
just to get a taste of those essential ideas.
So it's about getting a feel for the book before you really commit.
Right, before you do that deep dive.
Okay, so we've done our recon. We've decided this book is worth our time.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
That's when we move on to analytical reading.
Analytical reading, all right.
Now we're really going to roll up our sleeves, engage with the text,
Yep.
wrestle with those ideas.
This is where the highlighters come out.
Oh, yeah. Highlighters, notes, summaries.
I do love a good highlighter.
Anything that helps you move beyond just passive reading
Yeah.
to become an active participant.
And speaking of being active,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier Ali's note-taking method.
Right.
It's like he's having a conversation with the book, isn't
Yeah,
it?
he's all about that interaction.
Yeah.
Forget fancy notebooks. Just grab whatever's handy.
Mm-hmm.
Mark those important pages with a simple symbol like a line in the margin.
Yeah.
Then he highlights, jots down his thoughts right there.
It's like he's leaving himself little breadcrumbs to follow.
He is through the text.
And he uses those little symbols, too,
Oh, yeah, like stars.
to mark the important parts.
Right, those insightful, thought-provoking points.
So it becomes like a visual map of the book.
Exactly. And it reminds us we can personalize our note-taking.
Right.
Find what works for us.
Mm.
He even mentions Cal Newport's system,
Oh, yeah, the summaries.
Yeah, distilling those key ideas.
So find what works for you, whether it's visual, structured, whatever.
The key is to engage with the material. Make those ideas stick.
Okay, so we've read the book, we've highlighted, we've taken all these notes.
Right.
But how do we know we've actually learned anything?
The big question.
Right, how do we test ourselves?
Ali has a strategy.
He does.
He presents 4 questions every reader should ask themselves after finishing a book.
Okay, give me those questions.
First, what's the central message, the big takeaway? What did the author really want you to get?
Okay, get to the heart of it.
Right. Next, how did the author build their case? What kind of structure did they use? Were their arguments convincing?
So we're not just understanding the content,
Yeah.
but also evaluating how it's presented.
Exactly. Then it gets personal. Do you agree with the message? And why?
So we have to think critically.
Not just accept what the author says.
And the final question.
This is the big one. How will this book change you? How will it impact your life?
Wow, that is a big one. Taking it off the page into real life.
Translating knowledge into action.
That's the goal.
Yeah, it is. And Ali doesn't stop there. He introduces a 4th level of reading he calls syntopical reading.
Syntopical reading. Okay, tell me more.
Think of it as the ultimate deep dive. reading multiple sources on one topic
Okay.
and weaving those different perspectives together.
So it's not just about understanding one book, it's about mastering a subject.
You got it. Going from student to scholar.
I love that.
You're comparing viewpoints, making connections,
Yeah.
forming your own informed perspective.
That's amazing. And he even talks about how AI is going to change this whole process.
Right, those tools that can analyze so much information so quickly.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is. It's a whole new era for research.
So we've gone from basic decoding to becoming masters of knowledge.
Ollie has really challenged us to rethink our approach to reading.
He has. What a journey.
It's been a true deep dive.
And you know what? This is just the beginning.
It is.
It's our turn now to take these ideas and use them.
Right, apply them to our own reading adventures.
So, to all our listeners out there, pick up a book that excites you.
Yes.
Use the techniques we talked about.
And most importantly, enjoy the journey.
Remember, reading is more than just words.
It's about expanding our minds, understanding the world, enriching our lives.
Absolutely. Happy reading, everyone.
Happy reading.
And until next time, keep seeking that knowledge. Please let me know if you would like me to continue rewriting the other parts in this TTS style. I hope this is exactly what you're looking for.